What's going on? It's SFT. We're talking about the Bengals today. Before we get into this video, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. And let's get into it. The Bengals, man, the Bengals. What a disappointment. What a disappointing season they've had. Like, when you look at the expectations going into the season, getting a guy like Geno Stone from the Ravens, taking a piece of theirs, that was very good for them. Some moves made by this team to ensure not only they made it to the playoffs next year, but they had the best opportunity. This was seen in a way as the year they go all in. And it's been a really disappointing year. A strong finish, yes, like they always do. They always should finish strong, but they always throw it off very weekend. That goes down to the coaching. That goes down to the players, the mentality of not just the head coach, the coordinators, the way they practice, the way they approach smaller teams or teams that are less talented than them. So many issues this team has had, and all these issues finally surmise in them not making it to the playoffs, which is really unfortunate because I would love to see them play against the Bills in Buffalo. But let's quickly get into one of the topics of this video in terms of how this offense and defense has looked. So this offense is ranked 8th in the NFL, finishing the season off. Defense is ranked 26th ranked in the NFL, 24th ranked pass defense with 230 yards per game given and 28 touchdowns allowed. Rushing defense gives up 128 yards per game and 19 touchdowns. They allow the 4th most points in general at 26.1 and 51 total touchdowns. And they are tied for 2nd worst red zone defense at 66.7%. And a couple of hours ago, their defensive coordinator got fired, and some linebacking coaches, defensive line coaches, and the offensive line coach. You should find your defensive back coach too. Your defensive backs have not been playing very good. But we're going to quickly outline how the season has looked for them. This hasn't been the most disappointing. This has been a very disappointing season, but some highs in a way. You know, we start early on. They've lost that really poor game to the Patriots. I knew it was going to be a bad season at the gate. When you lose to a team like the Patriots, I thought it was going to be a blowout. I watched the entirety of the game. Really disappointed, struggling to throw the football. If you remember, the Patriots got a huge fumble to really seal the game. They got a huge fumble at the goal line to stop the Bengals from converting it. Bengals lost at home too, so really poor game. They then go on to lose to the Chiefs in heartbreaking fashion. Poor passing interference call by the referee. And then they go against the Commanders at home, Monday Night Football, and lose the game in tragic fashion, great fashion for the Commanders. And we start off 0-3 just like that. And thankfully, you have the Panthers. So you go up against the Panthers, you get a really good win, 34-24. You go up against the Ravens for another great performance offensively. Get that really... Ja'Marr Chase said that he didn't run the route properly, but get that bad interception from Joe Burrow anyway, but get the missed field goal kick by their kicker. And so much unfortunate things happening to them. Elite offense that day, poor defense, poor special teams, find a way to lose games. That's a common thing in this season. This team finds a way to lose football games. No different than against the Commanders, no different than especially against the Chiefs, finding ways to lose football games. And looking against the Giants, you put a 17-7 Sunday Night Football. A poor offensive performance, but your defense really shows up against the putrid Giants offense with Daniel Jones leading it at the time. You go up against the Browns, you get a win, 21-14. It was a decent win. The scoreline looks close. Yes, it's a 7-point game, but it was quite a convincing fashion the way they got that win. It wasn't the best overall performance, but convincing fashion in a way. And I want to stress this out too. A lot of games we're looking at early on in the season, the first 7 to 8 games, not a lot of confident wins. They didn't show the standard that they want to be early on inside the season, and that bled out. This mentality of you can start slow season after season after season, it's going to catch up to you eventually. And we see this season finally, you go all in, and it catches up to you. It hits you right in the face. You turned around and want to go right back into this season, going all in. And guess what? You ran into a clothesline that just slammed your head on the ground, and that's the playoffs right there. We get to the next game. After beating the Browns, you kind of get the brakes beat off you like Eagles, man. They put up an elite second half, shut you out in the second half. Jalen Hurts looked great. Devontae Smith had the excellent catch I believe it was in the 3rd quarter. The game was pretty much done, but by the time the 4th quarter came around and you beat up on the Raiders, you lose to the Ravens in Baltimore on Thursday Night Football in tough fashion. So we're looking at, and then you lose to the Chargers, man, in tough fashion. So we're talking about finding ways to lose football games, finding ways to not make the playoffs, finding ways to be always on the receiving end of negativity, of a loss, rather than finding ways like they were a couple of years ago to create something. You need to. When you keep playing to the standard of your competition, when you keep putting yourself in these 50-50 situations that you used to strive on, you used to do excellent in these situations, you start to come up on the opposite end of it, and you want to be a team like the Chiefs. The Chiefs don't do things like this. The Chiefs will have, yes, a couple of close games where, head-scratching win or potentially a head-scratching loss where they go to Buffalo and they look absolutely bad on offense. But the biggest thing about the Chiefs that you'll consistently see is they beat up on teams that they're supposed to beat up on. They don't lower the standard of their team, what's expected of their team. No, they know the level they can play at and they keep it at that level. They lose. It is what it is. But for me, the Bengals consistently fluctuate, and that's one of the things that killed them the most this season. And it's something that carried on from last season and the year before, but it was never seen as an issue because it was getting them through things, getting them through fights. It's no different than, if I were to give you an analogy, fighting with anger, right? When you fight with anger, you black out, you go through anything. You're willing to fight anybody, you're willing to fight anything down there, and whether you get punched or not, you're not really going to feel too much, and you're just keeping your head down and just swinging, right? But a day comes when somebody catches you with a really good punch to the face or a really good hit to the face. You fall down. You don't know what happened. You potentially get knocked out. And the next couple of fights, as your confidence decreases, you're still getting knocked out. And you have to come to a realization that you're not going to beat people. You're not going to win fights where you're blindly going into these fights. And anger is your fuel and motivation. And all you can see. It's only going to take you so far until you get hit hard and then you realize, we're not built for that. Some of these losses scream that. I guess the Eagles screams that. Like that embarrassing 37-17 loss, and it makes it even sadder. Even the one against the Chargers, man, their kicker missing 2 field goals to win them the football game. How'd you lose that football game? You guys drive down again to get another field goal in field goal range. Miss the field goal again, and then the Chargers go down to get a touchdown. What is going on with this football team? Failing on special teams. Failing on defense, and at times failing on offense. Outside of that, we get the next game. Oh my god. It looks so much worse now. We get the next game against the Steelers. 44-38. Offensively going out there, putting in a masterclass. Defensively, stinking up the place. I can't put anything nice to this team. Like, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs, man. You don't deserve to be in the playoffs. Consistent games of poorness. And after that, the next 5 games, you start to turn a leaf. They start to turn the page. I understand that. But we're talking about a chunk of these games where this team is showing you the lack of quality on defense, the lack of depth of defense, the lack of quality and depth on defense, the poor coaching on defense. If we're just focusing on defense, there are 4 cornerbacks, man. Cam Taylor-Britt is cooked. Damn, man, this secondary is so disappointing. This linebacking core can't tackle to save their life. This defensive line, especially in the interior, the edge rushers, I don't have that much of an issue with, but their interior is so poor, so soft, getting manhandled game in, game out. Just so much underwhelmingness that came from this football team. But we're going to get to the next quick topic again. The defensive coordinator already got fired. The head coach came out, had an interview. The head coach came out, had a press conference talking about how you never want to fire a coach, blah, blah, blah. I think he should get fired too. I think he is the enabler of this offense coming out playing poorly, this poor mentality of we're comeback kids and we're turning up at the end of the season. I don't want to hear that anymore. You need to put together full seasons, proper seasons, 12, 13-1 seasons. I'm going to finish it off with the culture issue. I think that starts from top to bottom with this team. And then my prediction for next year. Quick prediction for next year because I can directly see how it's going to look next year. The big issue I have with teams like the Bengals is they're just grateful to be in the playoffs. I find that the ownership cares to only be in the playoffs. Like, there's certain ownerships. As long as you get in the playoffs, it's fine. Care less if you win it or not, That's something to me that plagues a sport like soccer. A lot of teams fighting for top 4 to get European qualification so that they can get resources. I've always disliked that because they treat top 4 like a championship, They treat top 4 like not winning anything, like they've won something. They've won some money. Yes, you're getting some money in your pockets, but outside of that, we're not winning anything. Like, this is not a win. Like, how does that make sense? And I look at this football team, and it screams, we just want to make it to the playoffs, be somewhat competitive, fill the seats in next year, and go again. It's no different than when I look at a team like the Miami Dolphins. And my team, we are the perfect depiction of that. A team that stacks up their offense with a bunch of stars, looks really pretty, nice, fun offense, doesn't really win anything, but gets a butts in seats. That's what we are. That is the embodiment of our football team. And it's a shame to see the Bengals set that similar standard. You know, it's no different than if you look at a franchise like the Dallas Cowboys. I made a video, the Dallas Cowboys. That was my last video. I talked about the issues with the Dallas Cowboys, the mental issues that come with them, and the fact that as long as they make it, as long as they put bums in seats, as long as they push a little far in the playoffs, which are not going to get out the divisional route, then that's it. They're fine. Jerry Jones is happy with them, and he'll go right back, and he could care a lot. He'd rather die than be wrong about his decisions that he's made with his football team. And it's a stench that the Bengals carry with them, and it's a shame. So much talent, man. And this team is not willing to push, not willing to make the hard trades, not willing to spend the money to really be the best team possible. They're just fine with being competitive, getting some Monday, Thursday night football, expanding their brand into the market, putting their quarterback out there, putting Jamar Chase out there, and that's really it. That's just what I take from this team. It's like nothing really harsh, not firing a coach mid-season, no sense of urgency. I'm not talking about a reckless sense of urgency like the Jets did firing their head coach, no. But nothing to really spark this team, and this team needs a spark. Next year going into it, you can't have the same faces in the office over and over again. No. We need a better face in this offense, and no, we need a new, fresh, better face in this offense. If I'm a guy like Ben Johnson, right, I'm looking at this Cincinnati Bengals off. The moment it opens, I'm taking it. There's no way you're going to give me Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, an offensive line. Doesn't need to work, yes. And I'm not running with it. This offense is already balling without me. Look what it can be with me. Definitely, I'm looking all over that. If I was him, that would be my dream job. But we look at next year for the Bengals, and I don't expect them to be that good, man. I expect them to be the exact same team they are this year. I expect them to be worse than the team they were this year. I thought that if next year they don't have a more favorable schedule, they're not going to be stacking up wins, man. They're going to be stacking up a lot of losses. They're going to be getting their butts handed to them. They're going to have a really tough time, and it's a damn shame. It's truly a damn shame. I expected a lot more from this team this year. Next year, do you think they're going to go all in next year? I don't think they're going to go all in next year. I think next year they're going to look for a way to refresh, rebuild this team, revamp it. They're not going to go all in. Unless a team like the Steelers, Browns might be back. We'll see. Don't expect them to be back. They're never back. The Ravens are still going to be here, still going to be a staple. I expect the Bengals to be that fourth, that youngest brother, kicking around, trying to find their way through. And then after that, they just get kicked out, the room or something of that nature. They get their toy taken or something. A team that has little to no motivation from top to bottom to be anything other than a playoff team. A team that doesn't have the mentality to be a Super Bowl champion. After that 1 year, we got to a beautiful AFC Championship game. Then what? A couple of disappointing years. Some injuries, yes. But I don't know how you can look at this team and think to yourself, it's going up from here. It ain't going up from here, man. And they need to get this together because that Joe Burrow contract, it's going to go by just like that. It's going to go by really fast, and you're going to lose your franchise quarterback quick because of the lack of competition. But we're going to see what happens with the football team. Thank you so much for watching this video. Subscribe. Take care. Peace.